when I'm making art, I feel I need to be purposeful about it. I feel like I need to be doing something that matters, that my work is not just about me or my personal life. I want it to be something bigger than that, part of something bigger than just me. So for a good number of years now, I've been trying to work in a theme that I feel makes sense with my work, and that is nature and technology. It provides sort of a home base for me to work from. When I'm thinking about pictures and about putting them together, it always gives me a direction to go in. That is not to say that the pictures are just about a conceptual idea. They're also about pictorial ideas. But the media that I use, I think, also works into this idea of nature and technology, the painting and the photography. You can think of those two things. This body of work, the show, is called Das Krähennest. In German, that means the crow's nest. So we have a crow on that end. There's a nest over here made of wire. The crow's nest on a ship. In the previous centuries, pirate ships or just marine ships, the outlook at the top of the mast was called the crow's nest. It's a place where they climb up and they look out, see as far as they can see. This was also a place where people were put as a punishment because the wax and wane of the ship with the sea, the movement on the deck might be pretty bad, but when it's all the way up at the top of the mast, that movement is really exaggerated. So the seasickness would be even more pronounced. It was kind of like a punishment if you were up there more than just a little while. So the idea of being a seer, looking out, trying to see things, inform us about what's coming on the horizon, is also maybe a punishment. You might see some construction elements in the pictures. I've been building a house for a couple of years, finally just finished it. And these materials really kind of fit into the whole idea of my approach to art making. I noticed the craft or the art in actual construction. When a house or a building is created, there is a good deal of illusion that goes on. You're creating a wall that looks massive, but it's really just a skeleton with some skin on it. You're hiding a lot of things for aesthetic reasons. Even though your average construction worker is not thinking of himself as being in an aesthetic trade, he's certainly not as thinking of himself as being an artist. But I did see quite a few parallels between what I do and what a construction worker does. But then again, I was doing it all myself, so I was the construction worker, so it makes sense that that construction worker seemed like an artist, but so that's the reason for some of the steel elements. So I talked about this idea of illusion. In construction there is an illusion, in painting there is an illusion, in photography there's another kind of illusion. So these pictures of mine, like I said before, they're not just about ideas about nature and technology, but they're also about pictorial ideas. So using these two kinds of illusion, putting them together, I think that it creates a whole new kind of illusion. That shift from painting to photography really kind of can be jarring sometimes, but I think it serves to create an interest or a new way of seeing something.
I like the idea of bringing your own light.
Yeah.
In those two pieces.
Right.
But that lamp hanging with the outcropping coming off the wall and all, how did that come about? Because if you had just relied on the light from the wall to illuminate, it's totally different. Did you see this whole as a piece to begin with like that, or what?
Yeah, I did see this sort of, before I started, I saw it as this finished product with the form and the light. And then as I constructed the picture, I had to sort of fit these pieces in around it. And you've got a good eye, but because if you were to follow the light source and what it was doing on the objects in the picture, then it wouldn't necessarily work the way it's painted. but nonetheless, it's all part of this illusion. And so the light source in art, we're always talking about the light, where is the light coming from, and being consistent with where the highlights are hitting, where the shadows are falling. So this is a play on the whole idea of light and light source. Also, you could think of it, that I'm illuminating the subject or what have you. But yeah, there's an attempt to make it appear as if that light is fitting in with these objects that are painted and depicted. But the way those two pictures come together, the intention is just for there to be some space, or an illusion of space, and then that light kind of throws a twist on it.
Does it matter if the lamp is inside? I'm trying to decide, am I inside the house looking out a window, or is this like an outdoor lamp?
There's the hook.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I guess these are things that I could leave up to you. It's not that I'm wanting you to see it a specific way. It's a little world that I've created, and I always have to remind myself that it's okay for this world that I've created to not be realistic and not be like the real world. I don't know why. I'm always having to remind myself that. I should be able to remember that I'm creating it so I can make it do whatever it does. But that's something I'm always conscious of. Reminding myself that it doesn't have to make sense. It's art. Yeah.
Your photographs are large. How did you manage that? I mean, did you go and get them printed somewhere? Did you find it this way? Or I love the way it's almost seamless.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
It's just wonderfully seamless, where the photographs takes up, and then the painting starts, and then you might see photographs again. So where did you get these large? And they're beautiful images.
Thank you. The photographs, they're all mine. All the photographs are original. And I work long, laborious hours in a dark room late at night, just like Amy does. I send out and I have them printed. I just send it to Kodak and have them printed.
Can you talk a little bit about how your own feelings about your use of photography and painting have changed over the years that you've been doing that?
I think I've always approached art, paintings, I should say, in a more physical way than my peers at the time that I was studying painting. I was always looking for a way to make it more physical. I was maybe adhering two canvases together, or I'd have one painting on panel and then something else stuck onto it. Then in graduate school, I began making full-blown assemblages and objects, screwed in place, glued in place, so a lot of times behind glass, delicate, fragile objects. And I was introduced to the darkroom in grad school and learned that maybe it's easier to photograph these things instead of always trying to figure out some way to stick it onto a painting. Awkward ways of hanging them, and those were always issues with assemblages. So I started photographing things instead of, gluing it onto the painting. And that's how photography became more prominent in my pictures.
Are there any artists that you admire that kind of led you to this? I mean, are there any particular historic or living artists even?
Right. I spent a lot of time in Germany. We lived there for 10 years, and so I was heavily influenced by Gerhard Richter and Sigmar Polke. These are two artists that do work with photography. Richter was using photographs, those aerial photographs of cityscapes. Sigmar Polke was using it in a different way, but when I saw the photography in their works, they're both painters. When I saw the photography that they were doing, it was always about this pictorial shift, and that's what really interested me. And it informs my work a lot. I think I'm adding this element of combining the two things, and so I think that accentuates that pictorial shift.
That explains the the German title.
Right. Yes. Yeah. The German title, it's just a way to provide interest, to get people to ask questions, and so I like art to be like an exploration or a search. Someone maybe could just be curious about why did I name it this, what does that mean, and so it sort of gets them on the trail of discovery rather than just saying it all up front.
Matt, I enjoy the honesty of the way you put these constructions together, where you're really not afraid of the screws show and that sort of thing. And I'd like for you to talk a little bit about how you feel about the materials and how they apply to the pieces,
Mm-hmm.
what they offer to the pieces.
Yeah, I've heard the pictures described as seamless sometimes, and that's something that I'm not working toward. The seamlessness, I'm not trying to make it, I'm not saying I don't want it to be seamless, but in other words, I'm not trying to fool anyone, but I don't mind if the edge of the photograph is showing. I'll just paint right over it. And I think that casual approach to it lends itself to the seamlessness. If I'm going to fuss over the seam, then it's going to be a lot more visible. If I try to ignore it, then it's not. And sometimes I do work to make it look, to disappear, but I don't put a lot of effort into that. The screws showing, things like that, I try to think in terms of beauty as I'm putting these things down. This is where construction comes in place too. If you're just placing some screws at random, if they're not lining up, then it really bugs you. If they're lining up and you have them evenly spaced, it sort of disappears, So that's what I'm keeping in mind when I'm doing these things. I'm letting the screws show, but I'm trying to let them show that's in a clean, purely aesthetic, pleasing way, Yeah.
If I was going to sum up your work, at least your concept of art, it would be that art is shifty. Because I'm sitting here looking at it again, I finally got crow's nest here, up high, you got the crow, those look like maritime crates or something,
Mm-hmm.
be on the ship, so you got him up there.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's a flat piece, but hell, it's no longer flat when you're throwing the crates, there's nothing here that's flat.
Right.
And so it causes you to want to fall in through the window, fall down the rabbit hole. And you're constantly trying to maintain your balance from the art, in a sense.
Yeah. The crow, is steeped in symbology, and it's, there are all sorts of tales about the crow and the raven, same bird, different beak, but yeah. So if I were to just tell you, right offhand what I'm getting at, then I think it's less interesting than if I let you discover, and just like you said, it unfolded for you, and that's why I'm interested in it.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.